Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to the news. This week, we've got quite a few things to cover. You know, it's an end of an era for some things. Welcome, Eagle11. How are you doing? All right. Let's jump into the news. We have a lot to cover, a lot of random stuff. We have a couple things. Usually we start with security. We have a little bit of drama that I want to cover first because that's always fun. We always love covering that first. So we'll cover that first. And then we're going to cover something I want to say congratulations to. Also, there's going to be some changes to it for you Mac lovers. I know I don't use Mac, but some of you have the unfortunate desire for that. So, well, I'll leave that to you, but it's a big step for the Mac ecosystem. So we're going to cover that really quickly. Before jumping into security, there's a lot of topics you need to be aware of in security today because this has to do with real actionable applicable cross-site scripting attacks and OAuth. So some of our most favorite topics, I know. All right, so let's jump into it. Before we talk about anything else, let's talk about the end of an era. There is an end of an era. Sony is cutting the end of an era. Sony ends the production of writable optical media. Did you know children born in the next 5 years won't know what a CD is? It's like my children didn't even know what a gas cap was. They didn't know what a gas cap was because even our one car that takes gas doesn't have a gas cap. And that's going to be the same for CDs in the future, in the very near future. I mean, I don't have a computer that takes a CD at this point, so I mean, there's that. But it's now cutting the production of writable media. We're gonna get to Intel, Russell. You're jumping the gun. We're gonna get to Intel. Whether Intel is 20 years or 100 years, does it take the IBM or does it take the course of most of the AI companies that are happening right now? I don't know, but we will find out. All right. So the next little piece of news here was this. I found this. And this is an interesting thing. And what I'm actually going to do is tomorrow morning in the early portions of my stream, we're actually going to dive into this lawsuit. So I actually pulled up the lawsuit and read it myself instead of just going off of the statement here. And this actually does a fairly good job of doing it. And the crux of the issue basically boils down to this. And this is part of security. It's, you know what, we should cover this in security. I'm covering it now. So the crux of the issue is basically this health provider, payment provider, is basically saying that they have a SLA for changing their certs and that it requires at least 3 days, that they have to give notice to the people that use them for changing their certs, which is actually a pretty bad thing to do. That's why the title is "We Suck, So We'll Sue You." That's effectively what's coming out here. Now, it's not that they technically can't do it. So that's not actually true. The "we suck, so we're going to sue you" isn't actually technically true. They have, if you look through here, they say that they have contractual obligations to uphold. Now, I don't think that they're gonna, I'm not a law expert here, but reading through this, my understanding, they aren't going to win versus DigiCert. I think that they hope that filing this lawsuit would delay them a little bit to let them handle it how they wanted to handle it. But the reason I don't think so is DigiCert didn't actually have a contractual obligation with them. Now, DigiCert does have a contractual obligation with the CA Browser Forum and the regulatory body around certs, which says that if a cert is improperly provided, that it needs to be revoked within 24 hours. So DigiCert's actually doing, the moral high ground here, as well as, I say moral high ground, but also what they're expected as a certificate authority. They're doing what is expected of them, because the certs that they were provided weren't actually verified correctly. So if you want to know more about this, we're going to cover it tomorrow in more depth. I've been drawing a few little diagrams to prove it out a little bit better. But yeah, that's a little bit that's a little bit of what's going on there. So yeah, don't we all love certs? Certs are the most favorite, aren't they? All right. Also at the start of the stream, before we get into security, there's been one project out there that makes working on a Mac suck less. For 15 years, Mike McQuaid. I probably mispronouncing that. We'll just go with Mike. I'm pretty confident on the Mike. And if Mike would love to join for a little chat, that would be awesome. For 15 years, there has been a person that has made Homebrew, made it so that Mac actually has a package manager. And they're going to try to make a living out of this. So there's going to be changes coming to Homebrew. You can read about it here. I'll leave this link for you all. There's going to be... Certs are the second best way to wreck a Kubernetes cluster. Oh, second is what is first? Letting you touch it? I don't know, Russell. I don't know. So there are changes coming to Homebrew, but one of the really cool things that came, and why I said this is part about security, is that they did a security audit. They said a 2023 security audit, but I mean they released, like they started the security audit then. Is my understanding. And they released it, July 30th, 2024. So anyways, this had a huge security. They had some medium things to low, informational and undetermined. And they also have the mitigations and migrations. Most of them are already fixed. A few of the lower ones are still in progress. You know what I know the interesting thing is? All of these only affected Mac. Linux and Windows users don't have to worry about any of these. So that's a great thing if you're on Windows or Linux. None of these affected those operating systems. But anyhow, that being said, this is actually a really big step for the project. I wanted to give them a shout out because I know that Homebrew is the de facto package manager for Linux and or for Mac OS, and I know that every single developer uses it. So if you're a developer and you use a Crapintosh, you're using it. Kudos to them. All right, and then you can read, here is the actual audit. DNS is first. Okay, fair. So cool. So congratulations to them. They have done a great job. Like I said, Mike, sorry about your last name and how I butchered it. Congratulations. And, I hope that they're able to make a living off of it. I really do, because I know that they have revolutionized people's lives on Mac. So good job. All right. So we can jump into actual security now for everybody. We have a lot of topics that this is going to make your brain hurt a little bit. We're going to start with the most serious, and then we're going to move into the more fun topics. Yeah, actually, and there's a lot of these things that actually affect developers. I know sometimes we talk about things that don't directly affect you all. I think most of these actually directly affect you all, and you need to read up on them. So let's jump into them. All right. Top of the posts here are 2 regarding OAuth and cross-site scripting. Fantastic. Okay. Salt came out with over 1 million websites are at risk of sensitive information leak from a cross-site scripting in conjunction with the protections of OAuth. So basically, this comes from a misconfigure of OAuth that allows a leak in cross-site scripting. I'm going to put this, if you guys want to review this, if you guys would like to review this live tomorrow, I would be happy to. It's very interesting. I actually brought up this introduction to cores that I'm also going to post for anybody watching that needs a introduction to. I did not copy this. 1 second. I just posted the same link twice. There you go. Some really simple. I read through this just to make sure. It has a really good high level of some core stuff. Not quite as advanced as what goes on over here, but it's a very good primer if you're very new to it and don't understand what we're talking about. All right, so we can cover this. Let me know. I have it in my maybe make a video on because I think it's a pretty good technical breakdown of cross-site scripting and how it can happen with OAuth right now. Hotjar. It's a hotjar. It's a good old hot jar. That being said, we have a proof of concept of CVE 2023 out there that is a JSON Web Token security issue. Another one with the JWT, not necessarily OAuth, but JWTs are pretty used. This is actually a pretty big deal. So I'm going to leave this one with you all as well. Now, you'll notice that a lot of news of this JSON Web Token happens in July, and you'll notice that as all CVEs are done, you can actually tell when they were uploaded. So yeah. You can go check it out. Wait, did I send you guys? I did send you a link. Okay, cool. All right. So this is a pretty good breakdown of that. If you guys were wondering about it, and I thought I would share with you. So yeah. All right. Let's get into the more fun security, but something you should know about. I think probably everybody should uninstall WhatsApp until this is fixed, but WhatsApp for Windows lets Python PHP scripts execute with no warning. If you're running WhatsApp and you're running Windows, which is a terrible combination anyways, I would just say you have to stop. If Python and PHP can execute with no warning, it just should be uninstalled. Uninstalled. Let's move on. There's not much more to go into it. Like that is that. And it shouldn't happen. So about a month ago, I talked about Google losing their trust in Entrust TLS certificate, and Mozilla has gone the same way this month. So basically, Google said that they would stop bundling Entrust's certificate, and Firefox has done the same thing at this point. basically meaning that Intrust is no longer a root certificate authority anymore. I mean, they still do, but they're not trusted by many of the platforms out there that would validate it. So this little lock sign that you get here, you wouldn't get it from Intrust on a Chromium-based or Firefox-based browser anymore. That leaves you with very precious few. Alternative, you can host your websites at the very edge. Your user's WhatsApp application. Extreme edge programming. Oh, that's fantastic. Now, Intrust has apologized to both, but they apologized last 2021, I believe. It was either 2021 or 2020 itself. So they had another gaffe that was similar to what has happened earlier this year. And what has happened is basically Mozilla said they reviewed what Intrust said that the steps they were going to take. And there's the same steps as they said that they were going to take in 2021. And obviously that didn't work. And since they're not providing anything else, 2020, not 2021. Since they said that they weren't doing anything differently, obviously those steps didn't suffice. And so they're not going to trust Intrust anymore. Now, that being said, if you're a user, if you're a customer of Intrust, there is still a workaround if you want to continue using Intrust. Now, I personally would probably start losing trust. I would probably call it low trust instead of Intrust. Intrust, no trust, null trust. We can come up with names, but I would probably move from using them. But if you still want to use them and you still want your search to work, they have partnered with SSL.com, I believe. Yeah, SSL.com. So basically, they're reselling SSL.com certs as they work to get their certs revalidated. So if you're still wanting to use them, you can. I'm not sure what the point of using them versus actually using SSL.com or something like that. So anyways, there's that. Further on in the news, Twilio kills off Authy for desktop, forcibly logs out all users. So the Authy for desktop application is no more. So for Windows, Mac, and Linux, it's end of life March 19th, 2024, and it will ultimately be discontinued August 2024. So it is mobile only going forward. So if you were one of those desktop users, you need to move. So I actually didn't know this was coming. I actually missed this. Nobody in the community let me know. I don't use Authy for desktop, so I didn't actually see any of the warnings. Supposedly there had been warnings that this was going to be the last release. But like I said, I did not know. So I've only used it on my phone. Are you talking about this here? This was a hack that happened a little while ago, where the threat actors fed millions of phone numbers into the API, allowing them to build profiles of 33 million phone numbers on Authy, which were leaked on a hacking forum. This is not the desktop version. It was part of their API, though. We covered this a while ago. They got a phone book out of the app. That's what happened. Basically, they leaked their phone numbers. But this wasn't. Yeah, this was. Now, I have always said. 1 second. Be right back. I have always said, if you're actually wanting to take security seriously, stop using Authy. Stop it. Stop using your phone. And I'll tell you why. There's these things right here, YubiKeys. Now, if you want to see a company that takes security seriously, go look at how many security vulnerabilities YubiKey has had. They have one every 4-6 years, CVEs, and they're usually pretty minor. Now, that being said, they're very, very good about their security. The other amazing thing about this right here, what accounts does it hold? What accounts? You can't tell. So if I accidentally leave this in a restaurant, it doesn't matter. You don't know what accounts to log into. Now, if you get my phone and you crack my password, which is not very difficult on phones, and you open up Authy and you don't have a strong password on that either, now what? Now what? It links every single account, a lot of the times with a username. So they know exactly what two-factor authentication. Anyways, if you want to take it seriously, get a device to take it seriously. I didn't just get a phone call. Although I'm pretty sure Authy did leak my phone number. And I get phone calls now. And it's annoying. All right. But yeah, we did cover this a little bit ago. I guess in June. Yeah, it said June. I think it was in June. I don't see the date. In June. Yeah. It's actually really interesting that, like, how long has this API been out there and been unsecured? Probably from the inception. It's been years out there just waiting to be abused, and it hasn't been until now. Delta CEO says CrowdStrike Microsoft outage costs the airline $500 million. Now, I know that we've covered CrowdStrike and what it was in somewhat detail. And we're now seeing the repercussions of this. So Delta is actually suing Microsoft. I think it probably should sue CrowdStrike, but they're actually suing Microsoft, which I don't think they'll win the Microsoft lawsuit. I think they'll probably also levy one against CrowdStrike. Whether they win that one or not, it depends on their obligations. Like it will depend a lot on their contractual obligations. My guess here is that they don't have a contractual obligation like that with CrowdStrike, but they do with Microsoft, which is why they're suing Microsoft. So we'll see how that pans out. I'll keep you all up to date. Just wanted to let you know that was happening. We're seeing some of the fallout of that, and we'll see what happens in court. Hackers can wirelessly watch your screen via HDMI radiation. Now, that being said, this is why I use DisplayPort only, because I take security to the next level. And this is an HDMI only bug. But this is actually really cool. So I'm going to link this in the post. It's called Deep Pockets Reliability. I mean, in the end, those firms, CrowdStrike, I'm sure, has a cybersecurity insurance policy. They're really suing the insurance company at that point. They're going to get money out of the insurance company, whoever it is. That's how that works. This is actually a really interesting application of statistical analysis. I've always said AI is really good at statistical analysis and doing those types of things. And basically, this is a way to read text off the screen using HDMI radiation. And they use statistical analysis to do it, so it was pretty cool. Now, they have to be really, really close. So, like, this is basically physical. But they do have to be pretty close as far as that goes. IBM had a huge breach in healthcare. It's informative. It's small beans. small beans compared to the CloudStrike issue, but it happened. And then, to end off the security, we all knew this. A report finds macOS fares worse than Windows and Linux at preventing cyber attacks. This is actually something I have said for a while. That anytime that you have the people that try to hack the systems and whatnot, I'm not sure Mac is very good at it, but I didn't have any definitive proof. This is all the definitive proof that I need. You guys are less secure running Mac OS. There you go. That's all my security news. CloudStrike has lost 1/3 of their market value since CloudStrike. Dude, it's bad. I think one of the key takeaways that we can do from this is kernel mods are bad, probably. Can we just go with that? So I'm looking at you, easy anti-cheat. I'm looking at you, kernel level anti-cheat. When's going to be your CloudStrike? When are you going to release something that blue screens computers? We're about to have an ad, so I'm going to talk to my subscribers, my supporters. We won't cover any more news, but I will talk to them. I will also talk to the people in countries that don't get ads. So basically, screw you, Americans. I think Europeans too. I haven't seen that, Russell. Is Microsoft talking about moving away from allowing kernel mods for things like that? They should be. Like I said, while I have been adamant about this, where it was CloudStrike's issue, but Microsoft can do better is also something I've said. Like and the reason is, like, we've seen it. It used to be that your driver for your GPU could cause Microsoft to crash or, whatnot. And blue screening was so much more common because of all these things. And some of it's the vendors for GPUs and stuff making better things, but it's also been Microsoft adding layers of, hey, we can deal with this, because it didn't return quite what we wanted, but we'll deal with it instead of just sig faulting. So Microsoft can do better as well. I do think I would love to see Microsoft take the stance, no kernel level anti-cheat. That would be amazing, because it would force real anti-cheat into games. Because right now, kernel level anti-cheat is kind of this, let me draw this out. I don't know how to. Kernel level anti-cheat is a shortcut. So when we're talking about anti-cheat, you could build anti-cheat into your system. Build anti-cheat into your game. And you would do this by statistical analysis. There's a bunch of ways. AI would be fantastic at this. Thank you for the best viewers. You know what? I love it. I very rarely get to ban people. Actually, I get to ban people like twice a stream because everybody has the best viewers. Not me, obviously. I obviously don't have the best viewers already. And you guys let me exercise the ban hammer. Get the best. Okay, so yeah, we could do statistical. Oh, well, I can't spell. You could do statistical analysis. There's a bunch of stuff you could do. But what happens is a lot of people build they spend millions of dollars on a multiplayer game, and they do nothing about cheating. They don't think about it at the start. They don't bake it into the statistics that they collect. They do nothing with it. And then they have this, what I'll call an oh crap moment. And this moment is when they have rampant cheating across their platform. Almost every major online multiplayer game has had this moment. If you've been involved and have played with them, they have this moment, this oh crap moment, and they use a kernel level anti, because they didn't do any of the necessary prerequisite work to actually do it, because this shouldn't be that bad. So then we get stuck with this. And that's actually another really good point. I don't think this works very well. I don't think this works very well at all. I think this is actually worse than this anyhow. And so if Microsoft kills this, it would force people to do this. Now, I think that this makes games better. This over here makes games better. They actually have to work at cheating instead of just getting to cheat easy peasy. But I think that this would make games better in the long run. So absolutely, I hope Microsoft decides to do that. That would be amazing. Okay, so a little salty about cheaters in online video games. I happen to play Age of Empires 4. I happen to enjoy it a little bit more than I should. And I get super salty when people use map hacking mods where they can see the whole map and they can zoom out. And it's like, why do you play this competitively if you're just going to cheat? Like, what's the fun in that? That's like entering a foot race on a motorcycle. Like, yeah, you beat me to the end, but why? Like, what did this prove to you? Like, how was that even fun? Like, I don't understand it at all. The whole point in competing in one of these games competitively is to actually try your best. I don't get it. I don't get the mind of a cheater. They annoy the crap out of me. I'm salty about it. But yes, we were talking about Microsoft's responsibility and what they could do for kernel level mods. Riding a motorbike is fun. It is fun. You are correct. All right. So there's another end of an era. And it appears that, you know, what looked like a hiccup 3-5 years ago. I don't know. When did Apple come out with the M1 Max? Was that like 2017? When was that? Five years ago, it looked like Intel had hit a hiccup. That they needed to restructure, that they needed to figure themselves out, that they needed to get a real GPU out there so there would be competition. There was just a few things that they needed to do. And maybe they haven't done that. Now, the question is going to be, are they going to do what IBM has done and slowly die over years and years and years while buying other companies and sinking them? Are they going to make a comeback? Are they going to use this massive restructuring deal that they're working out and actually become innovative? Or are they going to die quickly? Those are the three options I see. They either become the next IBM. I actually would say that they do bigger cuts and actually stabilize, but we'll see. They actually did some pretty big ones. They did some pretty big restructuring, so maybe it was good. Maybe it's the right amount. Or are they just going to die quickly? I don't know. Not only did they miss estimates widely on sales, gross profit margin, and earnings, like on all three of them. They like it wasn't that like, oh, sales was down, but profit margins was up from efficiencies or things like that. No, profit margins were down, sales were down, and earnings were all down. 3 weeks ago, I talked about the scandal where they had actually hidden for 2 years the flaws in their CPUs that caused them to just die and crash. Like people literally have their computers just die every once in a while, and it's actually an Intel CPU bug that they hid. They are in serious water at this point. They are in serious water. Seriously shark infested water. Now, their restructuring plan has them cutting their entire dividend, which was like $3 billion in last year. So their entire dividend is gone. That wasn't the only thing, though. They're cutting 15% of their staff and restructuring the whole thing of it. So 15% of their staff is Intel's bigger than I thought it was. 125,000 employees. So 15% is actually a staggering amount. Yeah. So, oh man, I knew my things well. So what will we see? What will we see? I personally hope the restructuring works. And the reason I say this is AMD has always been that company that has had your back, that has been there for the developers, has done the open source stuff, and they've always done all of these things because they were the underdog. Don't get me wrong, like AMD is sitting here and they do all these amazing things because they are the underdog. I don't think of them as like just an altruistic company or anything like that. I'm not saying that they're a bad company either or anything like that, but like I think a lot of it has driven from they are the underdog, and so that has been the thing that has helped support them. If you run on Linux, you get AMD because they support Linux better because they have open source drivers and things like that. They support them better, and that's been one of their selling features, and that's good. Now, what I don't want is I don't want Intel to just go away. They don't need to be, we just need competition, because if Intel dies, there's no competition for AMD. They can become the monster Intel was. Now, you could say that there's some competition from ARM. And there is. We'll see. We'll see about how ARM does with gaming. The Snapdragon X gaming was terrible. I've seen that it hasn't worked very well. So we'll see how that competition heats up. And so there is the ARM stuff over here. If I could spell. And there's also Risk. We'll see how those platforms evolve. But I hope that the restructuring works actually. I saw that they were cutting their R&D, and I think cutting your R&D is the worst way to go. I think cutting R&D is what this is actually what I think gives the IBM death spiral. And I think this is why they do it. If you're looking at why they might do that, is they want production, the thing that's giving them money. They're printing these silicone patties and things like that. They want their chips to still go out. And so they don't want to cut from this because this is actually what's making them money. And this is literally what IBM does all the time. They cut the stuff that they call overhead, which is your R&D. So your R&D gets cut because it doesn't produce anything here. The only thing it could produce is in the future, it could produce another production line. But when you're looking at the short term, this is just a sunk cost. And this is a bad, what you have to do is you have to hurt here. You have to hurt here, and you have to bolster your R&D. Sadly, because doing anything else just ensures that you're set up to fail. But what do I know? What do I know? I am not a CEO of anything. AMD, is market value the whole thing? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if AMD is. To me, I've seen them in the past be. To me, I feel like they're neck and neck at this point. I could be wrong. Maybe AMD has really taken over. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. All right, let's talk about. I label this as open source. It has some open source stuff, but it has some general topics that we need to talk about. Let's talk about OpenTofu. So as you all know, there's Open KeyVal, or I think it's just called KeyVal now. There's OpenTofu. There's been this revolution where people don't like source available licenses. Well, OpenTofu hits version 1.8 with more crowd-pleasing features. Now, I've heard a lot of really good things about version 1.8. And one of the big things is that it's fragmented more from the upstream. At first, there was a lot of just trying to keep it feature compatible with the upstream. There is now a .tofu extension to files. And so yeah. So yeah, they're fragmenting a little from the upstream. They're becoming their own project. So I think this is kind of a big deal because I think they don't work as well if they're just now I still hate the name, but I think it won't ever be as big of a deal if they keep just compatibility with upstream. I think they really need to try to innovate in the area. They need to try to build something that works differently and better. Which is going to be really hard because Terraform can just copy their code, whereas the inverse is not true. Yeah, Apollo. I hate to complain about names because, as you've all seen, I'm also legitimately bad at naming. I am just bad at naming. But one second. I apologize. Okay. OpenTofu is just it's fine. Let's move on. Naming's hard. I'm giving them a pass. Naming's okay. Firecrawl. Now, I asked you guys a couple weeks ago to give me open source web crawling things. Firecrawl is one of them. The one we looked at last week was actually Python. This one is TypeScript. So I don't know if it's better or not. But Firecrawl is basically Firecrawl. The differentiator is it's kind of designed to clean scrape things for an AI to go into. So this actually might work really well for what we want to do. So basically, we want to try to build an AI that does these news segments with basically we want to be able to make a system where you guys, everything that we cover, you guys can rank in chat. You can leave a ranking. So if you liked an article, you can leave a 1. If you didn't like an article, you can leave a 0 or something like that. We haven't come out to the finer details, but we'd like for you to be able to rank the things and use that to better help curate the information that we're given. So anyways, this looked interesting. Like I said, I'm still leaving that call out there. If you see a web scraping technology, make sure to leave it there. Anyways, it's a cool project. It's a cool project. IntelliJ Platform Gradle plugin 2.0 is out. If you are a Gradler, if you are a Java enjoyer, go ahead and get that shirt out. Wear that shirt. Say that you're a Java enjoyer, and be happy because the JetBrains IDEs are gradling better. They're gradling 2.0. Enjoy it. Firefox updates makes watching videos a more enjoyable experience. Now, I've been hard on Firefox because for the past 20 years, media in Firefox has been terrible. And I've been watching more things. So maybe we go on a hiatus and we use Firefox only for a couple of weeks. And we see if we can do video conferencing. We see if we can do some of those things because as I've seen it, supposedly it's been getting better and better and better. So we're going to have to give it a try because I've been off of Firefox for like 2 years now because I couldn't, I would video conference and I'd go up to 100% CPU, all my memory, and then Firefox would crash and it would be a nightmare. So I'm watching you, Firefox. Firefox is the new Internet Explorer. It feels like it. It really does. It feels like it. I actually hate it. I actually hate it. I love that Firefox exists as a non-Chromium based engine. I really do. And I want it to be good. I am not a browser programmer. I know that I could go and I could learn, I could learn to contribute to it. I'm not sure. Like, it would be years before I could contribute it. Not only that, they don't use Git. They're about the only people that use Mercurial out there. So I'd have to learn how to use Mercurial. And we're talking about years of learning. Years of learning. All right, an interesting thing I found. I need to see if it's actually on his YouTube channel. I don't know. I'd like to find it from his YouTube channel. If you guys don't know who David Flanagan is, fantastic YouTuber. Let me pull up his YouTube channel. I should have done this beforehand. Let's pull up his YouTube channel. I'm going to just link you to his YouTube. I found an interesting video of his. And I wanted to share it because it was interesting. All right, so if you want to know cloud, if you're looking to learn Kubernetes, oh, look at this. He did Wasm. He used KWasm. We used the new stuff just recently. If you're looking for Rawcode, does some really good stuff. Rawcode, is he a gamer? You know who Rawcode is. He does Kubernetes and cloud native stuff. And they're pretty awesome. So anyways, wait. Oh, this is 1 second wrong. I wanted this. This is what I wanted. My bad. Rawcode Academy. So anyways, go check out his stuff because he actually does do a lot of really awesome stuff. What I wanted to obviously I haven't watched all of his videos, but I do watch some of his. What I wanted to point out is that I actually saw this, and this was really cool. I'm also going to post this. This was a talk that he gave. Rawcode is cool. I really like his stuff. And he's also just an awesome person. David Flanagan is an awesome person. So he gave this, which was Kubernetes without YAML. And it was really cool. I'm not going to talk about it too much. If you guys want me to do a response video, I will do a response video. I won't do a React video, but I will do a response video because it has some really interesting topics on it. And so anyways, I think this is something everybody should watch if you're using Kubernetes. Go for it. Watch it. I just said it. Go watch it right after the news. All right. Tech companies can't find good employees, and it's their own fault. Doubling down on hiring practices that don't work usually still don't work. This has been a problem in the industry since the industry was born. Our hiring practices are bad at best, and they don't even necessarily are indicative of hiring a good employee. So basically, we had so many people to pick through. Basically, what we've done is we've said, "Hey, do you fit through this hole?" And just something. And this is usually this is where like leak code comes in. Can you solve this leak code problem? We know that it has nothing to do with the job or anything code that you'll actually do, but can you sort a binary search tree? Can you balance it is what I meant. I didn't mean sort it, but can you balance a binary search tree? Do you know how to do that? And if you do, then great, you can move forward. If you don't, well, then we discard you. Whether that was helpful to you or not, or whether your job ever would have you do it, or if you could learn it within a day, it doesn't matter. That's how we do interviewing. And it's bad and it's broken. Now, another problem that I see here is nobody wants to hire a junior engineer. They cost too much. They cost almost as much as getting a senior engineer, and they do a tenth of the work, and you have to mentor them, and you have to. So this is another problem that we have is we're not training the next iteration of engineers. And in fact, our schools are turning to having them learn to talk to an AI. Instead of learning the fundamentals of engineering, the fundamentals of how computers work, how memory accesses work, how CPUs interpret instructions, instead of doing this, we're teaching them to talk to an AI. These kids can't even talk to other humans. Yeah, we're screwing ourselves. That's the state of the industry. I like that, Russell. I actually really like that. I basically, and I can do this. If I hire, I give basically three approaches. I have something similar to that, where there's a public API, and we ask you to make an app. The other one is I have an app. I have an app in a couple different languages that basically have unit tests that are failing. And I ask you to make the unit tests work and add a feature. And then the other option is I will give you elite code. I don't like it. But if that's what you're comfortable with, because that's what you've prepared for, I will do this because it is an industry standard. I don't love it. These take a little bit more time. I realize that. They take about 2 hours if you know what you're doing, and that's not a whole lot of time. This, takes about an hour and a half, so it's a little less time. I have actually said that if you're a skilled engineer and you know what you're doing, but you're in an unfamiliar language, like one person told me, I won't mention Eagle 11's DB's name, but what he was telling me, I had said, hey, if you can't trust the AI, it can't make you go faster. This anonymous person's argument was, hey, if I'm in something like a complicated SQL statement, and I need that, I'm in a complicated SQL statement, it can generate a lot for me, and then I can validate that and tweak it. and it saves me time. Instead of like looking up the exacts of a inner join with an outer join and knowing all that, because maybe this person doesn't do SQL a whole lot. And so it can speed up with some unknowns, but are also a good engineer. So. All right. Well, since we're talking about AI, we might as well just jump into AI itself. Meet Flux, a new open source AI image generator, beats Midjourney. All right. Woo. My body is tingling. That was a sneeze of the century. My goodness. Okay. I just got so excited over Flux. Bad name, because we already have a software project called Flux, which is a fantastic, you know what, let's talk about Kubernetes Flux. Flux is a fantastic CI/CD project for Kubernetes. It's like Argo CD if you don't know about it. So bad name, but it is what it is. Now, the thing that I find interesting here, I know there's like this huge rush to AI image generators, and I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all, because these AI image generators seem super focused on making pictures, but pictures aren't what makes images awesome. Okay, there's like a couple reasons you make a picture. The first is it's a memory. I have tons of terrible pictures of my kids. They're memories. AI they're not memories. They're making stuff up. The next thing is they have like a business or practical need. So you're making assets for your website or whatnot. Business practical need. That's not what these are generating. I couldn't get one to make me a binary search tree. I couldn't make infographics out of any of them. I couldn't get any of them to do this, because all they wanted to do was make like people. Like, why when I asked for a binary search tree, did they put people in it? Again, they haven't been trained to any of this stuff, so they're not good at this. They're not good at this either. And then the last thing that you would want to do is like make money off of your art. And this, if you actually look at people that make money off of it, it's because of their name. Look at Banksy or Banksy. I don't know how to pronounce or write their name. I don't know. It's not because their art is a particular. It's famous because of who they are, which again, AI doesn't do a very good job of this because it's not anybody. So what are these people doing? I don't know. Someone managed to get one of the models to design a whole new font style. Okay, that's cool. They must be much better code whisperers than me. I haven't used any of them recently. Maybe we should try Midjourney. Should we try Midjourney in the AI games later this month? Should we do that? Should we try to do... look, I've been working on a new one. Maybe a new emoji for subscribers. Maybe we'll have a free one for followers created by Midjourney. Should we try to do that? We'll do that. I will sign up. I'll pay for Midjourney. We'll get it to create us a... It is painting on a monitor. That's what it looks like. I mean, it looks like it because it looks like this is radiating light, but maybe it's just that good at painting on a canvas. That robot is one of Elon Musk's robot. It's so good at... It's using Neuralink, actually. Probably confirmed. Have you heard anything about the open source project Fabric? No. Can you link me? Link me, brother. It's so good. It made 2 other similar paintings in the background. I think it's 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure, but it's that good. It's that good. It can copy paste art. All right. Zuckerberg says Meta will need 10 times more computing power to train Llama 4 than it did for Llama 3. I'm assuming they're talking about, he said Llama 3, but I'm assuming he means 3.1. That means 10 times more cost. That's astronomical. That is astronomical. $8.5 billion. $8.5 billion in Q2. $8.5 billion in 1 quarter. Holy crap. That's the true cost of AI. That is the true cost of AI. All right, what is this? Fabric. Fabric is an open source framework for augmenting humans using AI. It provides a modular framework for serving or solving specific problems using a crowdsourced set of AI prompts that can be used anywhere. Look, this is something I'll come back to over and over and over again. If your AI is so dented that you have to learn specifically how to talk to it, it hasn't achieved much, right? If you have to purposefully phrase things and learn to craft some, this is where what I can't stand. These people are like, you have to learn to talk to it. If you have to, you're learning a new language then. You're just replacing Rust with another thing that transpiles into Rust. That's all you're doing. If you have to learn a specific dialect, a specific way of say, a specific set of information and a specific this, and you got to structure it this way and make sure that you put your inner thing here, then all you're doing is making a awesome transpiler. And it's not that useful, honestly. For an AI to be super useful, it's going to need to be okay with me not learning a specific language to talk to it in, okay? That way, it's not just a transpiler. Otherwise, it's just a transpiler. Sorry, this triggered me because it was like a set of AI prompts. And this is something I hate, where you have to have these specific prompts to manipulate it into doing exactly what you want. And it's like, well, whatever. Anyways, I'll have to look into it more. I don't know anything about it at this point. Transpiler to Rust. Let's call it Trust. Trust me, bro. I love it. I love it. Trust the transpiler to Rust. Oh my goodness. That's fantastic. Anyways, I wasn't hating on Fabric. Fabric could be the greatest thing since Swiss cheese. I don't know. All right. I don't have the time. I'm coming up on time when I got to get back to work. My lunch break is almost over, so I'm not going to have the time to go into this. I want to do a response video of this as well. The future of leadership in the remote workplace. And basically, this is going and basically saying remote work is a leadership killer. And I think to a certain degree, this is true, but not because it can't work, but because companies have never tried making it work. And so I'm again, unfortunately, I don't have the time to dig into this. I did want to dig into this with you guys today, but it will have to wait till the weekend. Olimex teases a low-cost dual-core RISC-V dev board built around the expressive ESP32P4 which this would be really cool because it would have onboard Ethernet. So if you wanted to do some little things like lights in your lab, I know the lights in the lab have been on hold because I'm moving, and I won't even have a lab for a couple months until I find a new home. But something like this would be really cool to power those. Super cool. Especially if it's PoE. If it's PoE, that's I couldn't find out if it was or not. Power over Ethernet is PoE. Yeah. That way you don't have to run a power to it. It's a killer feature. All right, let's jump into the cloud. There was a couple big things. Microsoft had a pretty big failure, not related to CloudStrike as far as I understand. If you're using Azure, you actually probably saw this between approximately 11:45 UTC and 19:43 UTC on the 30th of July, 2024. A subset of customers may have experienced it. This was not a may. I have confirmation that it was a yes, they did. And yes, it was painful. Issues connecting to a subset of Microsoft services globally. This wasn't a subset. This was customers. And this was a lot of things. One group that I have confirmation from was using Front Door, but there was other things like Azure App Services, Application Insight, Azure IoT Central, Log Search Alerts, Azure Policy, the Azure Portal itself, and a subset of Microsoft 365 and Purview services. Yeah. Russell, I think the subset of customers, I have talked to 3 people that use Azure. All 3 out of 3 had strong issues. So this subset, there must have been one customer that didn't have issue. This subset was, yeah. I have confirmation at least the EU and the US. Maybe like some other region didn't. I don't know, but I have confirmation from companies in the EU and US. So, yeah. Anyways, this is actually a little it feels a little disingenuous. It feels a little I would agree with that. This statement here feels a little disingenuous. Some customers reported less than 100% availability. The ones that I know of reported almost no availability, close to no availability, which is less than 100%. So it's a fair statement. Like it's technically not wrong. But yeah, it was more like US Central was down for 9 hours. It was more of it was rough. It was rough. Trust me, bro. Now I can only think of Rust. Rust transpilation. All right. This attack was an attack. So for this, you'll actually see here that this was a DDoS attack. They go into it on more of what it was and what services and who was attacking them. It's unfortunate because it happened just after the CloudStrike incident, which, if you notice, was just a mere 11 days prior to that, which took down, again, US Central as well. This is another bad one because this took down them for another, what? They were down for like 2 days on this one. It was, again, rough. I didn't know whether to put this. I put it in the cloud news, but this is what we've seen time and time again. We don't have access to OpenAI books anymore. I would guess you that they were, but if you take this in conjunction with Facebook and what we know of OpenAI and what they've said in the past, I would bet that this is the same that you're seeing across the industry with AI. Despite people paying for it, the cost to train and to implement and to improve these models is in 1960, when this was developed, in 1957, to be pretty precise. I might have looked this up for a video I'm doing on Honest AI, an Honest AI ad, but when the technology was first, it was discarded as too expensive. Unrealistically expensive to achieve any goal. So we'll see if that holds out. But yeah, 19 billion. 19 billion. All right. So it's a lot. It's a lot. Now, obviously, one thing in that 19 billion, you'd be like, oh, that's way more than Meta. This is all of Azure. So it's not all AI stuff in their growth of expenditures on capital. So this CapEx is their capital expenditures. And so this is all their data centers and whatnot. But it is up 78% from a year ago. So you can kind of assume that if you extrapolate it out for, the standard stuff being the standard, there's a 78% larger, or at least 36%. And, they're still growing as a cloud. So maybe it's not 78% from last year. Maybe it's something like 50%. But that means that 50% of that $19 billion, which would be roughly $8 billion, $9 billion, $9.5 billion. $9.5 billion is on AI, which is a lot. Could they just give me 1 billion of it? That's all I'm asking. 1 billion of your quarterly expenditures. Has anybody other than NVIDIA made a profit off of AI yet? I don't think so. I have not seen any person making a profit off of it. It's kind of like blockchain, where there's a lot of hype and there's some very valid uses. Walmart's supply chain would be a great valid thing. Git and GitHub is another great blockchain. I can point to some very valid uses, but the majority of people don't make money off of it. And I think that's what will happen. There'll be a few outliers that actually make money and strive forward. Most of the companies will die. Most of the companies that you see today will die. AWS discontinues Git hosting services code commit. I couldn't find anything other than this X post. This X post, after giving it a lot of thought, we have made the decisions to discontinue new access to a small number of services, including AWS code commit. Now, I'm actually pretty annoyed at this because this was all I found. Their official website didn't post anything. Jeff Barr, which is the CEO of the division, was the only person to tweet about this. Not great. Not a great way of doing it. Now, if you're using code commit, there's no reason to stop. They haven't put a day that they're discontinuing it. They're not allowing anything new on it. So no new uses of AWS code commit. Then there was this ominous and vague, a small number of services, including AWS code commit. There was a validation down here where Jeff Barr, where Randall Hunt says, I think that there's which services, literally didn't even state the services except for one of them. I hate the words "I hear you" because I know that these people are it's a mental thing and they're saying they hear your voice and whatnot. Obviously you hear them, you're replying to them. So don't say "I hear you" because that's just redundant. We are making improvements to this clearer for customers. The services I'm referring to are S3 Select, Cloud Search, Cloud9, SimpleDB, Forecast, Data Pipeline, and Code Commit. Do you know what Jeff Barr would make this simpler? If there was a blog, an announcement post on your website, that would make it simpler. Thank you. That's what I would like. Then your tweet can link to that. That's all I would like. Please and thank you. Bigtable, you know what? This actually does really annoy me. Clear communication is not difficult. Now, obviously, people are going to make mistakes like this. It's going to happen. I'm going to do it at some point. But it's not actually that difficult if you're AWS. You can have things in place for standard operating procedures for how to discontinue things, which should include a blog post, and anybody that posts on it should just link to the blog post for more information. This is not difficult. Bigtable transforms the developer experience with SQL support. So if you're using Bigtable and you've been dying for that sweet, sweet SQL syntax, you can do it. Now, there is one caveat when I was reading over this. It supports Google SQL syntax, which is not the exact same as SQL syntax. Or syntax. I don't know why I call it syntax. I don't know why. I'm very dented. It's syntax. I know. I call it syntax for some reason because it's like stepping on tacks in sand. But Bigtable, it does support Google SQL syntax. So anyways, I don't know what Google SQL syntax is. I know you guys are going to ask, and I'm going to say I don't really know. I do know that it's slightly different. How different? I don't know. I don't know. Modern SecOps Masterclass, and now available on Coursera. I'm actually signed up for this. I actually was like, yes, please. Santa tax. Santa tax. Oh, fantastic. Oh, fantastic. Google's SQL syntax will be deprecated. Syntax. Dang it. Will be deprecated when it hits critical mass. Probably accurate. What about AMD starting to have CUDA cores in their GPUs? Can they have CUDA cores in their GPUs? Do you have a link to that? Do you have a link to that? Can they actually even do that? Because CUDA is a NVIDIA thing, unless they opened it up. In the past, they've been very protective of CUDA. Nobody's allowed to have the CUDA language, right? And CUDA cores are the things that do the massively parallel CUDA language, right? So now, do they have CUDA-like cores? Sure, maybe, probably. I don't know. I honestly don't know. And maybe there's CUDA the language and CUDA the cores are separate. Like maybe the concept of a CUDA core is more of a concept and less of a technology. Like I said, I don't know the firmware that well. So I do know the CUDA language they're very protective of. CUDA code will run on AMD. Okay. So they're emulating it somehow or transpiling it maybe. I don't know much about it. I don't see anything on a quick search. Wait. Here we go. So this isn't actually having CUDA cores on it. It's just translating. Yeah, by translating CUDA calls to something that AM or ROMcom. Yeah. Okay. So it's just translating to Rockham, right? This isn't, yeah, AMD is pretty protective of that. I was gonna say, I'm not an expert, but I do like on the hardware itself. But I know like the CUDA language and whatnot. NVIDIA has been pretty protective of. So Rockham is more fun to say than CUDA, anyways. So I hope Rockham works. That's how I'm pronouncing it. Rockham, the right on Open Compute. Yeah. Scales. So this is again not AMD getting CUDA cores, right? They're still using their own compute cores, whatnot. So like, and I'm trying to be very specific because I wouldn't want people to think that AMD is getting CUDA cores, because that's kind of what is NVIDIA's thing, right? This is a way to run on both platforms. This is almost like either, I don't know. I haven't looked at this scale way very well, but Spectral Scale could be an emulation. It could be a transpiler. It could. There's like a bunch of different ways that it could do it to make it so that you can run on both GPU sets. But there are ways to run CUDA code on them, and yes, that does appear to be the case. Zluda? Is that how you pronounce that? Zluda? I have no idea. CUDA, Rockham, and Zluda? I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce anything. Naming is hard. That's it for me today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the news. I got to jump back to work. That was my lunch break for now. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Apollo, Russell, Scott B., thanks all for joining. Those were the people chatting. I'll give you a shout out at the end of the news, too, if you chat some. That's all the ones at the end. Sergeant Pepper was definitely here as well. Anyways, thanks, everybody. I'll see you guys